Chelsea, how are you? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. But yeah, really great films, Chelsea. For those
Thank you,
of you
Kaylee.
who haven't met Chelsea before, she got her BFA at UBC, and her films are all in environmental preservation is a main theme that she works with. Would you like to talk a little bit about some of your inspirations?
Yeah, sure. So I made those two short films while I was at UBC. And growing up in Shanghai, I was very used to the city life until I went to Canada for undergrad. And then I realized I wasn't um, I wasn't attached with nature until I had the opportunity to be exposed to it. So because UBC has a great environment, and you can go to the beach anytime, and you can, if you want, you can climb the mountain during the weekend with your friends and then go skiing or whatever. So it really changed my perspective on our relationship with nature. Because before I didn't know how to play in nature. I didn't know that you can be so close to nature so easily. And also because of the sustainable lifestyle that people are promoting there. So it draws my attention to the topic of environmental protection. Also because I grew up in an environment where I felt like the air pollution was very constantly happening. So I was already interested in the topic of pollution, but now that I finally got to be physically exposed to um, more raw environment, I had more thoughts on our relationship with it. That's how I start to focus on the theme of the two short films.
Hmm. And how did you start to put that into your practice?
I guess when I started to write I Will Keep Your Light, that was made before Reverie. I wanted to have a character that was very bothered by all the environmental issues that were happening. And I started to research on climate anxiety, which is pretty common even among me and my friends while we were studying at UBC. Because
Mhm.
the more you learn about it, the more anxious you become, because you realize it's almost out of control. It's a lot of the damage that was being done was irrevocable. So this main character in I Will Keep Your Light has climate anxiety, but at the same time, she got pregnant. So while she was researching all that, she has this very conflict mindset of whether or not she should um, bring the next generation into the world, her next generation. So it's a combination of my own fear for thoughts towards at the back then towards the environmental issues with a lot of research on the topic of climate anxiety. And the ending, as you can see, is quite hopeful because she decided to keep the child. And that's because after a lot of research, I realized what's most important is to stay hopeful and actually do something and take action. Because if you lose hope, then you are not doing anything and you are not going to change anything. So that's why the film ends on a hopeful note.
Hmm. And how did you get into filmmaking? I know actually when you mentioned UBC, I actually looked into going to UBC. I wanted to
Mm.
see if I could live a winter in Canada, but I was never able to get a work visa up there, unfortunately. But I did look into their program
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit as well. Well, let me see. Uh, I'll just ask this one question and then we'll turn to the Q&A.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
but this might be interesting to some of our students. Our program is a liberal arts program where they have a lot of different choices that they can choose UBC, did you enter thinking that you were going to get a BFA, or did something happen that made you decide that you want to make films and use this medium to speak your voice?
So I actually got interested in film quite early on. I was in my high school and we had like a movie competition, and that's how I realized I really like film as a medium to express myself, because I also studied other art and design courses, and I studied I was interested in a lot of subjects, but to express myself through filmmaking was a way that I felt the most comfortable and most confident. So I was lucky enough to discover that quite early on, and I like the process of making it. I like having a group of people working very closely together. So I also wanted to go to like university instead of a film school that just allows you to study filmmaking, because I think in order to write something that's socially conscious, I have to study multiple subjects that expand my understanding of the world. So, and studying filmmaking is important as the technique and everything you learn it from school, but you like, if you want to write and direct, I think I go for the interdisciplinary approach. So UBC really helped me with that, because in my first year, I was just studying a bunch of liberal arts courses, whatever I was interested in, even astronomy or like environmental courses or art history, film history, literature. And I really enjoyed it. And the second year I got into the film program, but still I have to do other like social science or literature courses. We have those requirements that we have to fulfill in order to graduate. So, but the filmmaking program is very intense. Some people say it's the busiest program in our university, because you don't have any weekends. Your weekends are all on film sets, but at the same time, you're still completing other courses. So it was quite stressful for a lot of us, and the creative pressure too. Like, you sort of feel like if you don't make something good, you will be judging yourself. But that mindset have to conquer. We all have to conquer that too. And I was lucky to have a group of people that I really like working with them, and we inspire each other. And I was still able to talk to people from different programs. For example, my composer is from School of Music at UBC. He was completing a master's degree in composing, and even though he's not in the film program, I was able to collaborate with him. And my set designer, art directors, they're from the theater program at UBC. So it was very interesting collaborations. And yeah, and the professors were supportive, even though the program is not as big as, let's say, USC or NYU. But I feel like in a small program, you're able to do a lot of things, try out different things, and really get to know every one of your classmates, because everyone comes from different backgrounds and different countries. And we even have a classmate of mine already had 2 children, and she decided to do documentary too. So, and we still got along. So it's like you have different people from different age as well. So yeah, I think I really benefited a lot from that experience.
Yeah, you're a perfect spokesperson for exactly what we're trying to do at our university. I'm with, I watched your film with a interdisciplinary dean of studies from our university, and when you were talking, maybe you could hear somebody
Oh
Try
wow,
to get
yeah, I'd love
exactly.
to get to know more about your program too.
Yeah, we're trying to do something very similar.
Nice.
I have 1,000 questions for you, but since I
Mhm.
know you, maybe I can ask those a different time, and I'll turn over to the Q&A. The
Sure.
first question comes from Ann Martinez, and she said, "I would like to know about the image of the mask in your first film. It was before the pandemic, but in a sense was a premonition. How has the last year in your city? Are you doing work during this time?" So that we also have people from the U.S., so they might not be aware of exactly the conditions of the pandemic right now in China. So that might be where
Oh,
that
okay.
question is coming from. But the question is basically about the use of the mask. What was the
Yeah.
decision behind that? And are
Yeah.
you still doing
So
work in Shanghai now? And kind of what are the conditions with the pandemic?
yeah. So I actually had someone coming up to me after a screening that I did in Canada and asking me if I Will Keep Your Light is a science fiction. And I said no, because I grew up in Shanghai when I really had to wear masks, especially during winter. And I remember feeling really uncomfortable in my throat when the air pollution was bad. And it was, so the imagery of mask was a, an easy decision for me, but for my team, I had to explain to them why I think it's normal for the protagonists wear masks because like in Canada, the most air pollution conditions were from wildfires. So when the wildfire season came, people realized the air quality was bad and everything, but still not a lot of people wear masks. But I feel like the city life in Shanghai, like people who live in the city, got quite used to it. And so it was, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. It was because of the condition that I set the protagonists to be in that I decided to have them wear masks. And it was the how do you call it? Like the ones that can filter PM 2.5.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that I give the characters as props, not the medical ones, because I wanted to show that they're wearing it because they want to protect themselves. Yeah. So how has been the last year in my city? Um, I think Shanghai is still like in public areas, you still wear masks, but it's for especially public transit when it's very condensed. But if you're just walking outside, it's um, not everyone will be wearing masks now. And I think Shanghai had it under like pretty under control back in, was it May or yeah, I think around
About a year
May.
ago now. Mhm.
Yeah, about a year ago. At least for me, I feel like I wasn't affected by it so much by May last year. Um, but before May, yeah, I was still doing work, and we had because I also do commercials sometimes
Mhm.
as part of my income. So we had some shoots canceled, but after April, I think everything was back on track.
Mm. Yeah, I think I actually met you in May or June
Oh
last
yeah,
year
yeah, yeah, yeah.
at a
Yeah, people
filmmaker.
were started to have those gatherings again.
Yeah, I think it was the first filmmaking gathering in
Yeah.
Shanghai that I met you at
Hmm.
of after the pandemic. And so
Yeah.
when Miguel mentioned that he was doing a film festival on environmental issues and he was looking for a Chinese artist, I said, "Oh, yeah, I definitely know one," because I'd seen your films. I think this is the third time I've seen both of these films this evening. Um,
Awesome.
we've got a, we've got another question here in the Q&A. Your
Yeah.
films are so clean, so bright, even though they are dealing with issues such as illness, loss of memory, and stress. Tell us about your aesthetics, choice to contrast the topics with clean image, sound, light, and about your relation to those topics, nostalgia, loss, fear, etc.
Mm. This is a really good question. I think I pay a lot of attention on the aesthetic of my film, because I wanted it to be an experience that shows the beauty of the characters and the environment. Even though when we shot the uh, hazy image, it was smog, but we decided to color graded it so that it looks like it's air pollution. So oh sorry, it was haze. So it was just a normal hazy day, and we decided to just go out and grab those shots and color graded it afterwards so that it looks like air pollution. And I think if you wonder about the cinematography, then it's obviously it's my choice combined with my cinematographer's choice. We talk a lot about how we want to have the camera movement, and the style of it is, after a lot of discussion, we decided that we want to have those like you can say clean imagery. It's also my own personality too. I don't go for very like gritty imagery. I like to have almost like every frame a painting, and I
Mhm.
want to show as much detail as I can in one shot, and have time for the audience to take those details in. And I was also learning, so it was my first two. I mean, I've done short films before too, but wasn't on this quality level. And we, like, as I direct more, I realized that I wanted to have, for example, I Will Keep Your Light. We have a lot of close-ups, but I realized if I decided to take a step back, maybe the effect will be even better. Maybe it will, like emotionally, it will have more uh, power if I don't show as much close up. So yeah, I was still learning, and I would say that the color and everything, it also involved the art director that I was working with. She's also Chinese. She grew up in Beijing, but she immigrated to Canada. And I think it's very important in the development stage to find the right team to work on the same project with you, because you would share a lot of ideas, even though you might disagree sometimes, but you're willing to listen to each other and you understand where the other person's coming from. And that's what I felt. That's why I felt lucky to have a team like that. And yeah, my cinematographer was the most experienced one in my program. And because he liked my pitch, we pitched in front of everybody so that you can decide which. So we have 20 pitch, but only 6 film got made in our third year in the film program. So it's not like everybody can make their film in their third year, because the resources were, because of time and energy and everything. So after my pitch, my cinematographer came to me, and we had this. We had a lot of discussion, and we decided to work with each other. So sound too, I mentioned briefly that I worked with the composer, was studying composing at School of Music. So it's also after my pitch at the School of Music that he decided that he's really interested in the project. And I actually interviewed several um, composers, because they were all really just the imagery. We already finished shooting, and then we go find a composer. So when they see when they see our footage and everything, especially the ink into the water shot, the composers were like, oh, this is what we wanted to work on. So I was happy to be able to interview like maybe 4 to 5 composers who were interested in the project. And I found the one that I felt like personality wise, he's a great person to work with. And aesthetic wise, we were on the same page. And also we story wise, because in your question you mentioned that we are dealing with those issues, but we have this perspective that we want to end on a hopeful note, and that's how we wanted to have an impact on the audience. So when I choose my team, I also asked those questions to make sure that this is what they would want to work on.
Yeah, but it'd be great to try to bring you to DKU in person. I think our students would learn a lot from your collaborative and interdisciplinary spirit, and it would be great to have you there. Maybe for a student film festival, you could sit as a panelist, or maybe we can show your work one more time to a live audience now that things are getting back to normal. So thank you so much, Chelsea. And I'd like to
Sounds
thank
good.
Miguel
Thank you.
Rojas, who was able to organize all of this. I know that takes a lot of work, and I really appreciate it. So thanks so much,
Thank
Chelsea.
you for having me.
Yeah, great film.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kaley. Okay.
See you later. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.